Here's Pascal. He's got Jones on him, the flash cut. Oh, you gotta love it.
It didn't take until the new year for the Raptors to incorporate some new things. Tonight, against the Washington Wizards, they trotted out a new starting lineup with Dennis Schroder coming off the bench and Gary Trent Jr. in with the starters. And the Raptors absolutely dominated in Washington.
It was a change that we were looking for some time. We decided that it was a good opportunity today to put Scotty Barnes more on as a ball handler, and also we wanted to have Dennis to help more with a second unit, and our guys did a good job today.
And, I didn't play with that group last year before that, so, we've been together for a minute now, but again, it was second nature. Again, we're trying to go out there, get as many wins as we can, and put a performance together, and I think we did that today.
It's not like there aren't guys in that group who can play make and carry the ball up the court and all that, but without a true point guard, does it sort of put a bit of an extra emphasis on everybody to kind of share that load?
You could say that, kind of. We believe in four at the point guard, so we can see what he does with it, how he's been passing the ball, the movement, his growth, his development, but you could say that kind of. Not having a traditional point guard will cause us to want to share and look for each other and rely on each other more. But, again, it's either way we're going to make it work, and either way we're going to try to, get a win. That's our goal.
It wasn't just the starting lineup that saw changes, though. The Raptors ran an entire different bench unit led by Dennis Schroder alongside guys like Otto Porter Jr., Jalen McDaniels, and Chris Boucher. Notably, no Precious Achiuwa or Malachi Flynn in the first half at all. So these are full-scale changes for the Raptors as they continue to tweak to find good solutions. On the court, they look good, jumping out to a 9-point lead at halftime, and the main change would be that they found a way to divvy up the usage between Scottie, Pascal, and Dennis Schroder and have it be interchangeable throughout the game, with Schroder specifically dominating with that bench unit with having 8 of his 10 assists in the first half.
It is about that, but it's also about Scotty getting more of a ball handling role and as a part of his development and growth. Dennis is a big part of what we do, and you could see today, like he embraced the role, he came off the bench, played great defense, he dished 10 assists, and really helped our second unit, and just stabilizing those minutes and having more continuity there is something that we're looking at. Obviously, it's a one game we're going to continue looking at and learning as we go.
The Raptors in general just looked more balanced throughout the game. There was breathing room for everyone's game to thrive, and maybe that's because they were facing the Wizards, or maybe it's because of the lineup changes, but the Raptors dominated and won by 30. OG finished with a game-best 26 points on 16 shots. Pascal Siakam finished with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. Scotty Barnes with 20 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks on 16 shots. And the Raptors as a whole had 43 assists on the night, their second-best total in franchise history, and their second-best total so far this season. And while we do need to see the starting lineup play together more and work out their kinks, it was a good start. So let's look at the 4 ripple effects of this change in the film room. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to get through here today for the film room. There's just a lot, to be honest with you, because when you make such a drastic change, like changing the starting lineup, taking out one of your high usage guards, putting in a different guard in there, and really changing up the entire rotation, it gives people like me ample room to be like, okay, what changed? What looks different? What are we expecting here? And I thought there were 4 things that kind of stood out to me that changed the way the Raptors looked and potentially changed the way the Raptors will look for the next 6 weeks as we approach the trade deadline. The main thing is that they were putting the ball in Scotty Barnes' hands more often, especially with that starting unit. This time you see a high screen and roll with him and Jakob Poeltl. Barnes gets downhill and uses it to find OG in the weak side, who knocks down the corner 3. At its best, the basis of their offense with this starting lineup should involve something like this. High screen rolls with Scottie Barnes. He uses it to get downhill, and he's able to find shooters. It's also great when you can involve those shooters in screening actions. This time, OG is the screener here, but they switch the action in general. He kicks it out to OG, who takes advantage of the switch, gets downhill, and the defense collapses in. You see, Gary Trent Jr., the reason they put him in the starting lineup is to finish plays like this, and he did that. It's also great because you can place 2 knockdown shooters on the weak side of the floor, and so it really negates the help you're seeing from the weak side when you're running these actions with all of these guys, all of these front court players. So you see Scotty Barnes gets a pin down set for him. He rolls into a dribble handoff with Jakob. That gets him going downhill. He looks for the lob to Jakob, or even from when Scotty is supposed to send this ball out, he can easily throw that to Gary Trent Jr. above the break, or OG Anunoby in the weak side corner, because everybody is pinched in on this action, focusing on Scotty getting to the rim, focusing on the roller, which is Jakob, and potentially Pascal on the other side cutting in as well. This essentially, having 2 shooters that are respected in OG and Gary, you now have the ability to run much more actions between your 3 front court players in Pascal, in Scotty, in Jakob. Now, obviously, there will be drawbacks with this starting lineup, as there is with any starting lineup. Like I mentioned in one of my videos earlier, the Raptors are playing whack-a-mole with their problems. So as they plug one hole, another hole will persist. And, you know, given this starting lineup, you're going to miss some of the things that Dennis Schroder brings as a downhill attacker, as just a setter-up of offense. And you're going to have to work through some of the kinks of having Scotty Barnes, a young lead ball handler, being your main guy on a night-to-night basis. There's just going to be some situations where he has to get better at. Sometimes it's realizing there's an advantage when it actually happens. Scotty gets downhill here. Something could happen here. Either they pass it to OG above the break, but instead he goes into a post-up, then kicks it out to OG, and then OG drives to the basket. The help is still there. Then they are trying to get a screen and roll here, and actually it works. Scotty gets the switch onto Jordan Poole. That's something you got to take advantage of, Scotty, as the lead ball handler, but he decides to throw a grenade to OG Anunoby for the above the break shot, and it ends in an air ball. That's just, you got to have more recognition when an advantage is created. And right here, loose dribble, Deni Avdija just gets the ball and steals it and goes for the fast break against Scotty. And ultimately, I think this is going to be a pretty persistent issue as teams try to press up on Scotty and test that ball handling skills. But for example, once you throw a guy like Dennis Schroder into the mix, there's a little bit more organization, right? He's commanding Scotty to get the switch, which he already has on Tyus Jones. The Wizards are forced to help because it's a mismatch, and that creates an opening for Dennis Schroder, who is able to collapse the defense again with another drive. He finds the open shot for Gary Trent Jr., who makes the defense pay. So there's a little bit of organization stuff that Scotty needs to work on, and in general, that starting lineup will need to work on without Schroder, but it's not a lost cause by any means. And on the other side, I think this is where you're really going to miss Dennis Schroder, is at the point of attack on defense. There was just too many miscommunications here on switches above the break for the Raptors. It led to some easy opportunities to start this game for Washington. Like, for example, you see here, Tyus Jones, Scotty miscommunicates the switch, and Tyus is left open with a wide open 3. And right here, Jordan Poole just explodes to the basket. There's just there's no real speedy guy that's able to keep up with these quicker guards, especially because the Raptors are playing bigger. It's going to cause some issues for them defensively at the point of attack. How they're going to be able to clog that issue, how they're going to be able to fix that, that's going to be something that's persistent. I don't think that is a good defensive group, to be honest with you, especially when you're asking Scotty to be a point of attack defender, not his best trait as a defender. So yeah, I think that's going to be an issue with this starting lineup. We'll see how that progresses, especially when they start playing better talent. A pro with this lineup is the fact that Dennis Schroder was really a great organizer on offense for the bench. He finds Chris Boucher for 3 here. Then, he can get into his own bag and kind of tap into his own scoring off of the bench as well. Be that scorer, be that secondary creator, feasting against second units. On this possession, Otto Porter Jr. slips the screen, and Otto was great as a screener and a roller tonight. And Schroeder takes advantage with a nice nifty pass, set up a pin down for OG. He makes them pay above the break, and this is just, Schroeder facilitating the offense here. And once again, Schroeder setting up OG again from the exact same play. OG this time steps into a mid-range jumper. I think, by the way, A sort of byproduct of Schroeder being on the bench a little bit more is that he's able to facilitate for OG more as well, and OG can have his platform in those second units to take advantage against defenses and get those on-ball reps that he wants to have. Developmentally, this makes a lot of sense, and that's why he won the player of the game chain, because he was doing a great job of facilitating off of the bench, and the fact that he was willing to come off of the bench in the first place shows that he was a leader in this scenario. And if you'll remember, I just mentioned that there's going to be some growing pains with Scottie Barnes. It's great because Scottie will also be paired next to a guy like Pascal Siakam in the starting lineup. And with Schroeder off of the bench, Siakam will be able to just feast, get more on-ball opportunities, be a facilitator himself. You see him kind of creating in the third quarter against the Wizards. Here he gets the mismatch in the post, and now the Wizards are forced to help. Great 45 cut by Scotty Barnes, recognizing that there's, multiple shooters on the floor that the Wizards can't help off of, and he gets a dunk here. Here is a pick and roll between Scotty and Pascal. Pascal gets the switch, and then he's just able to take advantage of it, going all the way to the basket with his patent spin move. And here the Raptors, dying clock, they're not able to get anything. Pascal gets downhill. Again, strong side kick out from Scottie Barnes, who's been knocking down 39% of his threes, makes them pay. And so you have a night where Scottie, Pascal, and Schroeder combined for like 30 plus assists of the 43 assists that you have. They are being given ample room to tap into their playmaking because they're being staggered and spaced out more. Pascal took over in the third quarter. Scottie Barnes took over in the first quarter. It was Schroeder in the second quarter. And I think that kind of shows you the way that the Raptors could potentially stagger out these playmakers and have them have their opportunities in these games. It worked out well against the Wizards. The one drawback of this new rotation is the fact that Precious Achiuwa wasn't in the rotation as much. He only played 10 minutes on the night. 5 of those were garbage time minutes. I thought in the 5 minutes that Precious Achiuwa played in the third quarter, because of foul trouble, Jakob Poeltl had picked up 5 fouls or 4 fouls at that point. I thought he did an incredible job defensively. And I would say that if there's any player that should be in the rotation that wasn't tonight, it probably is either Grady Dick or Precious Achiuwa. Grady Dick has a long way to go. He's a younger guy, but I do think Precious Achiuwa plays an important role for this team. And I think if I had to choose between him or McDaniels, I would probably go with Achiuwa instead of McDaniels. Now, to be fair, McDaniels played well tonight. It slotted into his role, was a great transition player for them, had some nice cuts off of the ball, played well defensively as far as I could tell. Like, he was solid tonight, and maybe they tap into that more as this, as they kind of tweak this. But ultimately, I feel like Precious should play a little bit more. And there was a stretch in the third quarter that kind of showed that. Right here, he switches out onto Jordan Poole, does a great job of contesting this shot. And I love the way he just never gives up on defensive possessions. Look, he switches out onto Denny Avdia. He's tracking, then switches out onto Tyus Jones. He's clearly just trying to wall off the paint, tries to force the turnover here, picks up his man again. And so the Raptors get a defensive stop here. Actually, it was an offensive rebound, but regardless, that's a great possession defensively by Precious Achiuwa. Here, he just rips the ball from Kyle Kuzma's hands, his dominant hand as well. I just thought that was really impressive. And once again, he switches out and defends this pick and roll really well. Ultimately, Precious had some really, really nice defensive moments in this game. I feel like it's something that the Raptors should try and tap into more. And I know Precious is a wild offensive player. Some, moments he looks amazing. Some moments it's a head scratcher, to be honest with you. And I can understand people saying, well, look, man, like, he's just not ready yet, or he's just not. But at the same time, like, he's 4 years into his career. If you're not going to give him opportunity now, when are you going to give him opportunity? And not to mention, the Raptors will be trying to extend him this summer. And I imagine Precious will want to extend as well. So they got to see what they have in this guy. And I understand that the Raptors want to win games and they want to be able to kind of get out of this rut. They've been struggling in December, and making a change like this is part of the cards when you're struggling like they have. But I do think that you should be playing Precious Achiuwa pretty much regardless. Now 10 minutes tonight, maybe it changes to 15 minutes. Who knows? Maybe Otto Porter Jr., who did play a lot tonight, isn't in the rotation next game. Who knows, right? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. We actually really don't know the consistency at which Otto Porter Jr. is going to be playing, because we really haven't got any kind of indication from that. Ultimately, the Raptors made a change. They changed their starting lineup tonight. The starters didn't look the best, but it was a change regardless. And if you are heading to an all-important trade deadline in 6 weeks, you've tried pretty unsuccessfully one starting lineup for over 7 weeks. Now you have about 6 weeks until the trade deadline to try this lineup, see how far it gets you, and not to mention, you're headed for a really, really tough stretch of the schedule. 8 of their next 9 games are on the road. They have 1 game on the at home over the next, I think, 3 weeks. They go on a long 11-day West Coast road trip coming up, and 16 of their 22 games are on the road until the trade deadline. That's tough, ladies and gentlemen. The Raptors are 4-9 on the road after tonight's win. So it's a tough road. There's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of rumors that pop up about this team over the next 6 weeks, but they are trying things. They are trying to do something different. They tried to change the starting lineup tonight. Maybe it's a permanent change. Maybe it was just situational. But ultimately, something happened. Something changed, and it gave us more to talk about, which makes me very excited as a person who covers this team. Thank you very much for tapping into these recaps. If you're interested in talking, listening about the NBA, we host the Objective Basketball Podcast. It releases Tuesday and Friday mornings. You should tap in. You should listen to it. And yeah, that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Oh, one more note. For the people who have listened this far, I will not be doing recaps for the next 2 games that the Raptors have. I'm kind of tied up and busy for those games. Sorry, it's New Year's. It's sort of a holiday break. But at the same time, if the Raptors do lose to the Pistons on the 30th, you will be getting a live show or a recap or something out of me, because that will definitely be necessary. So that's all I was going to say. Thank you very much for tapping in, and we'll be back soon. Take care.